All right. Good afternoon, parents. Thank you for joining us today. We will start um, the program for today. Let me just make sure that I'm sharing the right screen. Give me a minute. All right. Good afternoon, parents. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. So you are at the program for Admiralty Primary School, and today's program is for parents who are interested to send your children into our school for primary one. All right. So good afternoon, everyone, and pardon us for some of our awkwardness in our technology. We are still very new in this, but I think because of technology, it makes it possible for us to be holding sessions like this, and I think it makes it much more convenient for many of you who might be somewhere doing things that is important, but yet at the same time, you are able to access this afternoon's session. So once again, welcome to this program. I'm the principal, Mr. Peck, and with me today are my vice principals, Mrs. Joyce Lim and Ms. Nur Sabaria, and they are actually at the background. So the chat function for this session has been enabled. So along the way, if you do have some questions, you can type it in, and my vice principals will try to see if they are able to answer you very quickly, rather than waiting till the end of the presentation before you are able to raise your questions. So you might see that once you type your questions into the chats, they will come in and try to give you an answer. And if let's say the answers needed is a bit too long, then they will actually pass the question to me at the end of the session for me to answer. All right, so that will be how we want to conduct this session. Now, the objective of today's session is very much a, um, a kind of substitute for the kind of open house that usually we will do each year, whereby we invite parents to come into our school, and this talk would have been conducted in our school hall. But because of COVID-19 and the social distancing measures, we are not able to do that this year. So we have moved it onto the online format, and in terms of the kind of feel that you will get a sense about the kind of facilities that we have. We hope that the video that we have kind of looked at the start of the session give you a little bit of idea as to what are the kind of facilities that we have in our school. So I believe many other primary schools will be holding similar kind of talks to the parents within this next few months. We might be one of the earlier ones. I'm not quite sure, but definitely this is a period of time when many primary schools will be having such e-sessions with parents. So do look out for such sessions in terms of the schools that you are interested, that you have shortlisted, that you will want to consider to send your children to. So do watch out for their sessions so that you can attend and find out more about the school and to see if the school is suitable for you as a family in terms of agreement with the value system and also the suitability for your children in joining the school. So that's the main objective of this session, share with you what we have to offer and to help you in your decision making about your choice of school. Now, this next slide here, fresh from the Straits Times this morning, during the budget announcements, our Minister Lawrence Wong did put up this idea that MOE will be kind of tweaking the way we accept primary one students, particularly under the phase 2C phase. So this particular article in Straits Times talks about some of the mixed reactions. So I think many of us would have read the article and also understand some of the concerns that parents raise in terms of this particular announcement. And I think quite a few of the concern is about whether this increased number in phase 2C is going to be at the expense of the numbers allotted for the other phases. So that's a real concern by the parents. And some of us might not be very familiar with the different phases. This phase system has been in existence for many, many years. But I know that for many of us, until our children are due to enter primary school, many of us might not be aware what each of the phases actually mean to us. So just a short kind of explanation on the phase system. So every year, the primary school placing are being taken up or allotted through different phases. So at the first phase, we will take in the siblings of current students, okay, and they must be Singapore citizens or Singapore permanent residents. Okay, so phase one, we will try to take in the siblings, and this is to help our parents in terms of being able to send all their children into the same school, rather than having their children being accepted in different schools and the early morning routine of sending children to schools will become more complicated. So in order to help parents just to send all their children into one school, in terms of the P1 registration, we will take in the siblings first. After the siblings, we come to the phase two. So phase two is divided into two parts. Basically, 2A and 2B. And 2A primarily is about parents or ex-students from the school. So parents must also be an alumni of the school. 2A1, which is slightly earlier than 2A2, the difference is that in 2A1, the parent is a registered member of the school alumni. And that is provided that the school actually does have a alumni set up and registered officially with the government. When that is the case, then parents who are official members of the alumni would get into the school under 2A1 in terms of being able to register their children. The other consideration is also that some of us, the age gap between our children can be quite large, such that by the time our younger one enter the primary school, the older one has already graduated. So if we do have such a situation like that, then the younger child would qualify in entering the school under phase 2A1. So not as high a priority as compared to siblings of current students, but nevertheless, we still try to take them in. The other category under 2A1 is that parents is a member of the school advisory committee. Now, generally, the school advisory committees are quite small, usually 10 people or fewer. So the chances of parents being one of the member is actually on the smaller side. So particularly this category of parents, if I may put it this way, doesn't pose much threat in terms of taking up more places and competing with the other phases. So 2A2 will be for any parents who was an ex-student. They need not be a member of the school alumni, or in the situation whereby the school doesn't have an officially registered alumni, then all the parents or ex-students' siblings would qualify under phase 2A2. Okay, in addition to that, the other categories will be parents who is a school staff from that same school, or children who are from the MOE kindergarten. So when you are considering schools, do take note of whether the school has a MOE kindergarten in it. Because if the school does have an MOE kindergarten operating in the school, then the children from that kindergarten would also qualify to enter the school under phase 2A2. All right. Um, just perhaps some quick answer to some of these questions is that number one, Admiralty Primary School, we do not have an officially registered school alumni. So all our children actually will qualify under 2A2. And also we do not have an MOE kindergarten. So in terms of the number of placing that are being taken up at this phase, is actually not a lot. Next, we come to phase 2B, and under this category, it will be of particular interest to most parents will be that if you are a parent volunteer of the school, then you will qualify under this phase 2B. Other than parent volunteers, in terms of other parents that will qualify for this phase will be parents who are also grassroots volunteers, okay? Or for schools who are actually associated with a particular clan or church, then members of that associated clan or church will also qualify for phase 2B. Now, some of these qualification of what do we mean by members of associated clan or church can be quite complex because each clan and church might also have their own additional criteria as to who are the members that will qualify. So I do know that I think for Singapore Hokkien Hui Guan, if I'm not wrong, do require that the parents are not just members, but they have also done a certain number of hours of volunteer work with Hui Guan. Okay, so some of these clan or church will have additional conditions that are imposed on top of just being members of the clan or church. So do check out with the clan or the church if you are interested in school associated with them. So after phase 2B, then phase 2C will be for all students who are Singapore citizens or permanent residents that do not qualify for any of the earlier phases. Okay, so that will be, so most of us without any connections with any school would qualify under phase 2C. Okay, okay, some parents are mentioning about the slides being blur. I'm not, now let me take a look at my side here. I can try to, let me see, let me just try to stop sharing and then I will share again. Okay, let me see if this will improve. Okay, I hope this is better. All right. So most of us who qualify under phase 2C if you do not have any other association with the school. And phase 3s are actually meant for all international students. So if your child is not a Singapore citizen or a Singapore PR, then you will actually qualify under phase 3. And for phase 3, the registration is not within the scope of the P1 registration for Singapore citizens. The registration of international students will need to be, is actually centrally controlled by MOE. So for international students, you will have to either check out the MOE website or you might have to call up personally to the MOE helpline if you have specific questions that you will want to ask with regard to the admission of international students. Now, generally, international students, the allocation of schools for international students is done centrally, so they do not have a choice. So it's unlike years ago, whereby the international students can go to the schools of their choice and register under phase 3, if the school still have a vacancy until that stage. But I think MOE has also consolidated that whole process to be centrally allocated. So for international students, you will want to check out the relevant website in MOE. And if you have further questions, you will need to call up MOE helpline. All right, so now that I've talked about the different phases and how a parent or a child might qualify under the different phases, next is to talk about for Admiralty Primary School, what does the number look like for us? Now, so far over the last 3 years, MOE has given us 210 places to take in for primary one each year. Now, this figure is not a fixed one. Every year, MOE will decide on the number of students that each school can take in based on the population kind of statistic distribution of school-going children of the locality. So they will actually review that every year and decide on the number of students that each school within that community should take in. This is to make sure that the students will be evenly spread out amongst all the schools, and you don't have a situation whereby some schools are oversubscribed and then some other schools you have no students there at all. So this is one of the methods that MOE deploy to distribute the number of school-going children amongst all the schools within the similar locality. So far, this number, even though it's not fixed, but it tends not to change very drastically from year to year. So for this year, we are also expecting that this number will stay the same at 210. But this is just our estimation. So the confirmation will come from MOE later on. Although we don't kind of expect them to change this number for this year. All right, under phase one, again, different school will be different in terms of the numbers of students. So looking at the past trend that we have, we are estimating that maybe about 90 children will qualify under phase one. So that's our estimation. And again, based on the past trend. Phase 2A, like I said before, we do not have high demand. I think one of the reasons is that we are still a relatively young school. We are moving on to 25th year next year. So if you count in terms of the parents, our first batch of parents, right now, probably they have, stepped out of school, finished their schooling, probably started working, and perhaps still in the process of settling down and having children. And once they have children, you will have to wait for another 4 or 5 years before the parents will start thinking about sending their children to us. So for this number, it is still at a very small stage because we are still a relatively young school. Now, for phase 2B, therefore, some of us also know that under the revised or current MOE scheme of P1 registration, there is this compulsory 20 places that we must allocate in phase 2B and phase 2C, so that there are enough places that can be given to parents who are willing to do volunteer work in the school, and also at least 20 places for parents who are living in the vicinity of the school. But if you look at the number here, it's like right now, after admitting phase 1 and phase 2A, we are way beyond the minimum number of 20 that is compulsory for phase 2B and phase 2C. So we do have a healthy 48 or so places that are available under phase 2B and phase 2C. So that's the situation for our school. And therefore, just to also mention that at phase 2C, we have been balloting within 1 kilometers over the last few years. So phase 2C is a particularly competitive phase for our school. And therefore, for parents who feel that you want to improve your chances of entering the school, you would have to consider doing volunteer work to put yourself at phase 2B. Okay, and this is not just for our school, for all other schools that are of similar kind of profile, you will expect that if there are popular school um, that are expecting balloting at phase 2C, in order to give yourself more chances, you have to consider doing volunteer work to qualify yourself for phase 2B. Okay, so for phase 2B, again, definitely your child must be a Singapore citizen or a Singapore permanent resident. And for parents who are interested to be a parent volunteer, do take note that you need to start your volunteering service a year before your child is due for registration. Okay, so for those of us who are uh, coming in here, I assume that you are interested to register your child for next year. I do know that some of you are interested to register your child for this year's registration. So for those of us who are interested to register this year, then your window has closed. Okay, you will not be able to do your parent volunteer work if your child is entering or registering later part of this year. Okay, you should have done your parent volunteer work started last year. All right, but if your child is target for registration next year, then you are in time. Okay, so take note of that. That for parents who are interested to do volunteer work for the school, you need to start a year in advance before the year that your child is due for registration. Okay, and of course, your child would then enter the school the year after that. All right. So the exception. So as we have said, phase 2B, other than parent volunteer work, there are also other parents that will qualify for that. So one is that they are volunteering at the RC level, and of course the other one is the association with clan or church. All right. Okay, if they are still blur, I can't do much about it. Can I do anything about it? If the slides is still blur at the parents' end? Okay, can I? Okay, yeah, pardon me. Let me just try to share the screen again because some of us are still, it's still blur on your side. Let me just try to stop. Okay, can you please help me here? Yes. Okay, I hope this is much better. So apologies about that. Right. So okay, so just now what we have covered was about how if you want to do parent volunteer work, you have to start a year in advance before the year that your child is due for registration. Next point that we will need parents to take note of is also that the completion of the 40 hours of volunteer service, and do take note that this 40 hours can differ from school to school. Usually it will be 40 hours, but for some of the popular schools, they might have additional conditions associated with that. And some of them might actually require more than 40 hours of service. So you will need to check with the school in terms of the exact requirements that they are putting in for this particular phase. Okay, and just to also say that completion of the said hours of volunteer service usually also do not guarantee a place in the school. Give me a minute. Can you just check? There's some disturbance on. P3 and P4 would use the technology very extensively. What we noticed was that at P5 and P6, some families would then pass the device on to their younger children who are coming on to P3 and P4. Okay, so that's the reason why at P5 and P6, we have not been pushing for device use. But again, because of COVID-19, part of the reason, we are also encouraging that at 5 and 6, because when we have almost 100% participation rate at P3 and P4, it doesn't make sense for this whole technology way of teaching and learning to suddenly disappear when the child come up to P5 and P6. So we are also putting in increasingly more and more program at 5 and 6 levels that require our children to work using devices. All right, so just want to say that in terms of device adoption at primary 3 and primary 4, we are trying to push for 100%. Right now at this stage, at our current primary 3, we already have close to 80% adoption. So we are hoping that in the next year or two, we are able to push for 100% technology adoption. Now, so some of us might ask, okay, our school, we started our technology program since 2014. So how's our COVID-19 experience? We just want to say that because we have started our program in 2014, so comparatively, our schools we are actually very well prepared when it comes to COVID-19, school closure, or some of the restrictions that we are facing. For some schools, for those of us who, again, if you have relatives, children, neighbors with children who are in different schools, you might find that some of the other schools, they are not able to customize their learning materials. How the school might adopt is a very basic form of technology adoption, whereby they have to standardize the teaching and learning material across all their classes or across all their levels. So, and the customization is usually not very strong. And even in terms of marking of assignments, they might even have limitation on that. But we just want to say that our school, because of our experience, we are way beyond that. We are able to customize learning for each class. So the whole learning with technology that was done during this COVID-19 period was actually customized at the class level. So while the syllabus remains the same, different classes, the teacher would actually do their own customization of the teaching and learning materials, depending on the ability and interest of the children in the class. So our teaching and learning are fully kind of like autonomous, operating at an autonomous kind of level and managed by our form teachers. How our form teachers will manage will be to collaborate with the rest of the subject teachers so that there is a certain kind of coordination amongst the different subject teachers of the same class in terms of the way work are being assigned to the children, so that there is actually a balance. We even go until the extent to which we were one of the very few schools that also have started this e-learning platform for CCAs. So we do know that even right now, a lot of CCAs are still not being able to operate at their full-fledged level pre-COVID-19. But for us, we have started complementing our existing CCA structure with e-learning. So the kind of e-learning process and procedure that we use for our academic studies, we actually transfer that for our CCA as well. So these are some of the experience that we've had, and we again want to assure parents that we do have the experience and we do continue to want to become better in terms of the way we use technology to facilitate our teaching and learning. So beyond technology in our school, what else do we have to offer? So we mentioned about deep learning. So again, we just want to say that we do have little programs that go beyond the standard MOE syllabus. Those of us who are familiar with the primary school will know that at primary school, English language is a subject. and literature by and large is not introduced. But for our school, we are introducing English literature and embed that within our teaching of English language, because we believe that through literature, our students are able to develop critical analysis and reading with more intentional analysis of the deeper meaning behind the text. So in this example that you're seeing on screen here, is actually this book that we use at primary 2, which is called The Day the Crayons Quit. And it's a story about a boy having a box of crayons, and these crayons were not happy, and they decided to quit on the little boy. And in terms of that particular action, they also pen down their dissatisfaction or their grouses. And each color, each crayon has its own characteristics. So how do we pick up some of these things through the message that each crayon has written for the young boy whose name is Duncan? So these are some of the things that we bring in, and this was brought in at younger primary level. And then as the child progressed to primary 3, 4, 5, 6, each year, there will be a book that the children will be reading. And this is done on top of the normal English lessons that they will have and cover. For mother tongue languages, we again want to say that our school do put a strong emphasis on the mother tongue language learning. And for children who are good enough in their mother tongue language, we actually strongly encourage them to take up higher mother tongues when they reach primary 5. So in our school, we do have a large number of children offering higher mother tongues in our school. And in beyond the offering of higher mother tongues, within the own mother tongue education, we also try to bring in literature and textual analysis as well. And some of these actually go beyond the requirement of MOE. Just to also make a note here that when we say going beyond what MOE requires, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is more difficult. Okay, but we just do it in a way that we are able to go beyond that, but still within the capability of our children. Okay, so that's how we do it. We are not talking about making it more difficult, but we are talking about doing it differently so that we make sure that our children are equipped with the necessary skills, again, for their lifelong learning. So beyond that, we also have speech and drama. We also celebrate culture and festivals, and we even have programs for family learning. So what you see here in terms of the first item, the guided reading program, what you see there is quite small, but what we have there is actually a particular book that we have selected for primary 2 in terms of their guided reading. So this is very similar to the Stella approach, big book approach, whereby the children are being introduced to picture books. And at this level, these books usually would have very few text. So the textual, the information that are contained in the text is actually not a lot. But what the teachers will actually guide the students to do is to pick up additional information from the pictures. Okay, and these are some of the things that we want to bring to our children to say, beyond the text itself, look closely at the diagrams, look closely at the picture. What additional information do you see contained in these pictures? So these are some of the things that we are also putting into our primary school program. Yeah, there's some disturbances. Can I just encourage parents to make sure that your mics are muted? Yeah, thank you. All right, so we have the learn at home packages that are being done for the mother tongue languages, in this case here, Chinese language, and then also parent-child bonding activities. All right, for our Malay language, we also do get them to play traditional games. The mother tongue Malay language also get them to do interviews of friends to expose them to different text types. Okay, card poster making, sandwich making in terms of informational text, spelling bee, mother tongue fortnight. So these are some of the programs that we have for Malay language. And okay, let me see. Tamil language disappeared. Okay, my apologies. Okay, yeah, but I can't scroll there. Okay, my apologies for Tamil language, but we do have Tamil language program as well. But for some reasons, my slide, I'm not able to scroll to that page. So I'll move on to the other programs. So we do have family science as well. So what you are seeing on screen here are just some of the examples that that our science teacher put across for the children to have some fun at home with their families, to do some of these little experiments at home together with their family members. Okay, we do have similar program for mathematics as well. And also, okay, so these are the few that are being featured. So we do want to make teaching and learning come alive and to look at teaching and learning beyond what they are experiencing in the classrooms as well. And in this case here, we are also trying to get the whole family to be engaged here as well, to enjoy learning together. All right, so beyond academic studies, we also focus a lot on our CCAs, okay? Just want to, okay, okay, my slides is not showing again, okay? But never mind, let me just go through it. Let me just see how I can show. Okay, now, so what you're seeing here is the various CCA activities that we have in our school. Now, of course, just now I mentioned that we encourage all our students to participate in CCA, and we do have a wide range of CCAs that our students can participate in. Of course, a school being a school, it is not possible for us to be able to offer all the CCA that are possible. Okay, so we need to be selective. And also, in terms of being able to enter a CCA, there are also vacancy considerations. So not all our children will be able to enter the CCA of their choice, particularly if all their choices are very popular CCAs. But our spirit here in our school is this, that we believe that all CCAs offer children learning beyond academics. And no matter what CCA that a child is in, the child will be able to learn skills, particularly social skills, leadership skills. These are skills that actually, it doesn't matter what CCA you are in. And the leadership skills and social skills that you picked up through any of these CCAs will be beneficial for our children in their development. So these are the things that we focus on. So again, in terms of CCA, and even in the CCA itself, we also want to say that at the DSA stage, just as an example, you will see that our school, we offer Chinese dance, Indian dance, Malay dance. Now, but a child entering secondary school might be interested to join the modern dance in secondary school. So how? In the primary school experience, there is no modern dance. So does it mean that the child therefore cannot gain entry into modern dance as DSA? The answer is no, because we want to say that whichever dance that you join, okay, you do learn generic skills about what dance is all about. So meaning that when they are in Chinese dance, Indian dance, or Malay dance, they don't just learn the dance per se, but they also learn about generically what dances are all about, how to appreciate dance. And much of these skills that they learn through their participation in either of the dance group are actually transferable to other dances. And we want to get our children to see these learning points, and therefore to be flexible and to try their best to transfer these learnings onto other CCAs that might interest them in secondary school, and particularly if they are interested to enter these CCAs through DSA. So these are some of the things that we put in our CCA program to make sure that these CCA activities and learnings are meaningful to our children, be it the first choice or be it not their first choice. Okay, and we do have many cases where some of our children, they might be in track and field. But when we ask them at primary 5 and primary 6 whether they will want to enter secondary school using track and field as their DSA, they actually say that after spending 4 years in track and field, they actually want to have a change. They want to try out some other CCAs. And then we will start that conversation with them to say, okay, so they want to change the CCA, but their 4 years experience has been in track and field. How do they transfer some of these experience into the CCA that they are interested to join? And to see if they are able to transfer that skill and enter the school through the DSA of that particular new CCA that they are interested in. So these are some of the learnings that we want to cultivate for our children. And these are just some photographs of our students' CCA in action. These photographs here were taken during our mosaic performance, which is once every 2 years that we will actually put up a performance for our children to give them the platform to practice their skills and to learn about the skill sets associated with performing on stage. Okay, our uniform groups and the various activities that they participate in. Okay, our clubs and societies. Okay, our sports. All right, so that will be by and large our CCA program. And next, we just want to highlight a couple more special programs that our school would have. Some of us might be familiar that many primary schools have these programs that are called Learning for Life program and also what we call LLP and ALP. Okay, we would introduce ALP later, but we would just want to, at this stage, introduce our Learning for Life program, and these usually will be related to character development programs. Okay, so in our school here, we actually have variations, stories, alternative stories lines that were constructed based on the well-known story of the tortoise and hare. Okay, and from these stories, we actually constructed different variations that will teach our children about self-efficacy, complacency, entrepreneurial dare, and staying relevant, trade-offs, and teamwork. So these are some of the ideas and themes that we bring across through the various stories of tortoise and hare, and to get them to think about some of these broad themes in terms of their character development. Okay, in terms of the ALP, which is short for Applied Learning Program, our focus in Admiralty Primary School is about design thinking, and particular design thinking for sustained development. So we bring in the whole concept of design thinking. Our children were introduced to these methods of thinking and problem solving right from P1 onwards. And each will involve a 2-year cycle. So the students will actually go through this 3 times through their 6 years in our school. Okay, so this table here shows some of the scheme of work to talk about what our children will go through in each of the level. Okay, and beyond our LLP and ALP, we also have our cross-cultural program. Of course, because of COVID-19, the overseas learning journeys can no longer happen. But I just want to say that in the past, when we were able to run this program, and of course, we hope that in the near future, we are able to bring these program back to our children again. Our emphasis in Admiralty Primary School is that all our children will be on board. So the kind of international trip that we offer to them at primary 5 would actually be offered to all students. Okay, and the location, there is a wide variety of location that we will send our children to, including Beijing, Shanghai, nearer to us, Penang, Kota Kinabalu, and even Hong Kong as well. So that will be done at P5. So that will be the international overseas learning journey. But before that, at primary 2, primary 3, and primary 4, there will actually also be specific cultural focused theme that the children will learn. So primary 2 will focus on Malay culture, and within that, in terms of our art program and our music program, there will be a stronger focus on items that are related to Malay culture, be it in art and craft or in music. Same thing for P3 for Chinese culture and P4 for Indian culture as well. All right, so beyond our academic and also our extension activities, we also want to highlight a few things about our school's contribution towards the community. All right, so we are active in terms of sending our students into the communities. We do partner with some of the preschool around our school premise in Woodlands to do buddy reading with younger children. We do have assembly programs whereby we will invite folks from homes to join us as well. We also have a whole set of leadership grooming program, particularly our prefects, but not limited to that. In terms of our CCA leaders, we also give them opportunities to groom and exercise their CCA skills. Even in class, we also assign leadership opportunities to get our children to be in charge of something and to cultivate that kind of leadership skills in them. We do participate in Share a Pot with the community. Of course, because of COVID-19, many of these activities cannot happen, but we really hope to resume them as soon as we can. Okay, our green efforts, we do have a eco garden. We have a hydroponic garden at one of our rooftops. And in terms of the vegetables that were grown through such a process, we do get our students to bring all these produce out to our community to give it away and also to spread green messages to our communities around here. So these are some of the programs that we have. In addition to that, in order to help you make your decisions, we thought we also want to share with you certain characteristics that are peculiar to our school, and we thought it would be important for you to know that to help you to make a decision as to whether this school is suitable for you. We just want to say that because of our emphasis in CCA, our CCAs are being run on Monday morning. Okay, so Monday morning until 9:30 will be our CCA period for primary 3 to primary 6. So primary 1 and primary 2, technically, they do not need to come to school. So for primary 1 and 2, the starting time for school on Monday is actually at 10 o'clock in the morning. Okay, but for Tuesday onwards, okay, they will start the same time as the rest of the level at 7:30. Okay, but on Monday in particular, our primary 1 and 2 will start only at 10 o'clock. Okay, so that's something that for some families, you need to then manage the child care arrangement for your children in the morning. All right, we do have student care and also student care centers within our school, and also around our school, our student care centers that are near our school would probably also offer care arrangements during this time period as well. So these will be some of the things that you need to consult these care centers in terms of their arrangements. Because we have our CCA within curriculum time, so most of our days we will end beyond 2 o'clock. So this is also different from some other schools. And because of this longer day, we also put in a lunch time in between. So that whole combination of CCA in the morning and also lunchtime resulted in us ending our school day each day at 2:10 for most of the days, but for Monday, they will end half an hour later at 2:40. Okay, so bear in mind that this later dismissal time is taking into consideration that the children do have a lunch break. So your children are not going home empty stomach. Okay, so that's that. And do consider that for school buses, um, if you are intending to send your children to our school, but you are living quite far away, or if you are intending to consider schools that are beyond, a certain walking distance, such that you will need the school bus service, do take note that some of the constant grouses from parents do include how the school bus route might not be as convenient as you want it to be, and children might have to be picked up as early as 6 o'clock if they are living far away, or if the school route or the school bus route is such that they really need to pick up your child quite early in the morning. So these are some of the factors that you will want to consider if you want to send your child to a school that is further away and that you need to engage the school bus service. Okay, and beyond that, there is also the dropping off. So in terms of going to school, your child might be the first to pick up, but at the end of the day, your child might be the last one to get drop off. So that might mean that by the time we end school at 2:10, by the time your child reach school, it can be as late as 3 o'clock or even 3:30. So these are some of the considerations that you will need to think through because of our school hours. And these are some of the things that you will want to check out when you go for the opening or the open house of the other schools, to check out their timing and to see if the timing actually suits your schedule. All right. So point two, I've explained that is because of our CCAs. And beyond that, there will also be other situations like, for example, once your child reach P5 and P6, they will start to have extra classes, additional classes that your children are encouraged to stay for additional help. Okay, and because of that, then your whole school bus schedule will be affected even more, because it will mean that your child might not be able to take school bus home at all. And some school bus company might not be as flexible in terms of giving you discount on days that your child is not able to take the school bus service. So these are things that you will need to take into considerations when you are choosing school for your child. And by and large, children are expected to be in school punctually. And for some of us who may choose to send our children to school using our own private transport, you again need to take note of that. We come across parents who sometimes feel that we should not be going after their children for being late, because they are the one. The children are not in control, but the parents are in control in terms of the one being the one driving the children to school. But again, we want to say that no matter what, if you choose to drive, you should choose to send your children to school punctually. And you, if need to, you should consider leaving home earlier as well. Okay, so this one here, I think I've already mentioned already that for P1 and P2, you have student care program that you will need to check out. And for those without that arrangement, we do have enrichment classes that are run in P1 and P2 for parents to subscribe as well. But this will have additional charges if you choose to have those services. So if you really have no childcare arrangement at home or even with any childcare centers, you can choose to subscribe to these enrichment classes, and that will come at an additional cost. All right, so just now I mentioned quite a few times about our student care. So this slide here is also to share with you some information about our student care. We do have our in-house student care, which is actually the Learning Harbor. But just to, for all parents to take note, is that most schools who are having their in-house student care, we are not able to cater for all children. So by and large, there is only a limited number that can actually enter the schools student care. And for the rest of us, we will actually have to source for student care arrangement outside of the school. So what you are seeing on the slides here are some of the rest of the student care centers that are particularly popular amongst our parents and are familiar with our school operation. Okay, those of us who are interested in school bus arrangement, you will want to take note of the price of the school bus. And again, we just want to say that these are commercial arrangements that are beyond our school ability to negotiate the prices. Okay. Children who come from a financially challenged background, you will probably need to pay some, but there will be financial assistance available. And so for those of us who are in such a situation, we do encourage you to come to our general office to share with our staff your details and the kind of support that you will require. Okay, so by and large, we do select our programs carefully so that we do not, as much as possible, we try not to have to collect a lot of additional collections from our parents. But such collections are necessary for some of the programs. And so we ask for your understanding. And for students who come from financially challenged families, we do have subsidies that we are able to help you as well. Okay, so additional payments particularly will come in at the time when the children are going for their overseas learning journeys, okay, which is actually usually will be several $100s if they are going overseas because of the plane travel. All right, so that's all I have, and right now it'll be Q&A. So let me maybe just take in some of the questions that my team has also seen through from the questions that you have typed in. So one question here is that, does the school limits the intake of parent volunteer in order to give parents who volunteer some assurance of placing? Answer is yes. We do put in some limits, but to be fair, we will actually all on a safe side. So we'll definitely take more. Okay, so in terms of the balloting situation, you probably would expect balloting, but we definitely, like for example, if we are going to have 48 places, we will not want to have a situation whereby we have hundreds of parent volunteers who need to ballot for 48 places. Okay, that's not the kind of balloting that we are going after. But there will be a chance whereby with, again, this number 48 is just an estimation for this year. The number might actually go up or down. So we actually will want to take in more parent volunteers so that even if the number fluctuate on the high side, we still have enough parent volunteers that can be taken in to our school through this phase. So generally we'll take in more, but yes, we do place a limit that we do not want a ridiculously competitive situation here. Okay. The Chinese, next question, the Chinese, Malay, and Tamil slides are within the deck of slides. Okay, so we would also want to share these slides with you in our school websites after this sharing. So do watch out for that as well. Right now, I think we open our Q&A for parents. If you have not typed in your question and if you want to ask your question verbally, you can choose to unmute your mic.
Hi.
Yes, hi.
This is Jason's parent. I would like to ask, like, if we want to join the phase in 2C, what will be the intake in the phase 2C? Like, how competitive will it be?
Okay, the competitive of phase 2C, it will differ from year to year. It's a bit difficult to explain because generally, I think I mentioned before that the balloting will happen within Okay, my apologies. Let me switch on the video for here as well. Okay, can I switch on the video here? I cannot seem to. Where is your capture button? When I close, once I close it, it's kind of like, can you actually do anything or you're not familiar with this? Because I need them to see my face. Yeah, give me a minute. Give me a minute. Yeah. Let me go ahead. I'm not coming. No, I'm already unmuted. Yeah, yeah. Okay, my apologies. Let me try again. Testing, testing, testing. Can people hear? Okay, testing, testing. Okay, Ken, my apologies. My battery ran out, so I have to take over my AM's computer. The question just now. The question is about um, how competitive is the at phase 2C. So just now I mentioned that the number is probably about 48, and that I mentioned that the balloting happens um, at the 1 kilometers radius. So what will happen is this: that say for example, the registration number will come in. So generally, what happens is that the parents will look at the number registered, and then they will decide whether it's worth the risk. So I think, if I'm not wrong, so far, to ballot for 48 places, sometimes the number registered can go up to about 60. Okay, 60 or so. And generally beyond that, parents actually feel that once the chance is not high anymore, they might decide that it's not worth the risk, and they actually will not want to sign up anymore. So that's how the signing up for our school will stop. Okay, once you see that the number registered and that the balloting happened is 1K and that the number registered is already say at 60 for 48 places, then they will choose not to ballot. So this one here, the decision actually is controlled at the parents level. So I'm not so sure whether I've answered your question, Jason's mother.
Yeah, you did. So just now you mentioned about the number of registered place will be shown up when we do the register in the phase 2C, right?
Yes, you'll be able to see the number as to how many parents have registered. Yeah.
Okay.
And in such a case, we actually also, so for example, because some parents might say, oh, how would I know? What if I live outside the 1K? So when would I know? Because we know that if the balloting happens in 1K, if you are outside of 1K, you automatically will be disqualified. So some parents actually say that, oh, but I do not know whether it will happen. So why not I register first? So under those kind of situation, our people, we will try to contact these parents to tell them that the balloting is already at 1K. So for those parents who live outside 1K, we will actually encourage them to withdraw their application and to register in other schools because they do not have any chance to ballot at all.
Okay.
So that's something that we will help. Yeah.
Okay. Then I have another question. Assume that during this phase 2C, like the number registered is over 48 place. And then how do they consider like within 2K instead of within 1K? How do they select? Is it based on the distance? How far you're away from the school?
Yes, based on distance. And if I'm not wrong, there is actually a particular reference that you can actually check. Sorry? Yeah. Okay, so you can actually check. There is actually some reference point. So it's not something that we decide there and then. Actually, all these things are already established. And I think if you go to the MOE website, they do show you what is the website. In the past, there used to be some website that will refer to. You can type in your exact address, and then it will tell you whether your address is considered within 1K or just outside 1K. So those are actually determined, especially for those that are at the borderline and you are not very sure whether it is 1K or outside 1K. Yeah, you get a very definitive answer from those websites, and those are official.
Yeah, but my question is like, if we are all within 1K, how do the schools select the students? Is it based on like balloting?
Yes, it's balloting, and it's computer balloting done at the MOE level.
Understand. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my apologies just now. So any other questions?
Hi, sorry, I have a question.
Yes, hi. Yes.
With regard to the number of parent volunteers that the school will take in, given the current COVID situation, which has greatly affected the kind of programs that the school can hold, because I understand that usually parents are usually deployed for field trips and big events. So because you don't have those events anymore for schools, therefore will the number be affected, the number of volunteers that the school will take in? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. At this stage, we actually, yes, traditionally we do have some activities that we will deploy parent volunteers, and those activities are right now not possible. But generally, I mean, for our current batch of parent volunteers, we do make sure that we have other forms of work that we can give to them so that they can continue to clock the hours. So by and large, I think that this year's parent volunteers, we are able to give them enough work to clock in the 40 hours required. So we do not have that problem, and we did not actually limit the number of parent volunteers because of fear that we are not able to fulfill the 40 hours for them. Okay, we actually take in the numbers, and we do have enough work beyond those work that are now not able to do to get them to fill up the 40 hours.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Can I check if we are doing a PV parent volunteer, right? Does the school allow or accept us to contribute further by doing some sponsorship or donation to the school?
Sorry, contribute further by?
By giving donation or sponsorship to the school?
No. Only physical service.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, in terms of the service, there are other requirements. So at the PV briefing session on 25th, I'll also be sharing more conditions, and some of those conditions include that the work must be done by you or your spouse. It cannot be the grandparents of the child. It cannot be your mate. It cannot be your colleagues from work. So these are some of the requirements that are stipulated. Yes.
It doesn't matter the wife and husband have to share equally on the working.
Also, in terms of that, we also want to make it very clear that the husband and wife, so we will look at the work. Is this work a one person worth of work? If this work is actually one person worth of work, and then the husband and wife split it amongst the two of them, then it cannot be clocked as a double count. Okay, but if the two, the two spouses, husband and wife, coming here and take up 2 persons worth of work, then yes, you'll be counted as 2 counts.
Which means we got to probably decide either a wife or husband come over.
You don't have to. It can be a mixture, as and when. Yeah, it will be clocked together. Yeah, there's no need to make decision as to who is the one serving, and we do have a mixture.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, regarding just now you mentioned about the LLP and ALP program.
Yes.
Does it need to register for that, or actually is like count across the primary life 5-6 years?
Yes. These are programs that are put in the school. There is no additional subscription that is needed. It is part of the program that we will roll out for all students.
Okay, noted. And one more question is regarding the in-house student care service. Does it come with like first come, first serve?
It is not first come, first serve. You will need to register, and then there's actually a certain criteria that we will actually go through our selections. So what we encourage is that parents who are interested in that service, in-house service, will fill in the application form, and then through the application form, the center head and the school will look through. And MOE do give us a certain kind of criteria in terms of giving priority to certain families. And I just want to be very open about it. I think there's a priority from MOE to say that we should give priority to families who are perhaps from a more challenged background. Yeah, so that's something that we want to be open to everyone. So those who do not qualify, then we will actually let you know that that we are not able to accept your child into the in-house student care.
I see. Noted. Is there any like a vacancy for this student care in-house? Like how many people will be the intake?
The intake right now, can I just check? The intake right now is about for the student care about 180. About 180. Okay, our cohort is actually 210 for P1.
I see.
For P1 is actually 210, but the number of children we can take in student care is 180 only. So even just primary 1 alone, you will know that we can't take in every single child. And let alone that actually the student care is open from P1 to P6. Of course, in particular, the older children tend, beyond primary 2, if they are more independent, generally the parents will not sign them up for student care. Yeah, but nevertheless, we still have 2 batches of students competing for the student care service.
I see. Thanks.
Thank you.
Sorry, when is the right time to actually register them for the student care? Is it before?
To register for the student care, generally will be after the balloting, after the whole P1 registration. Once everything settles, all the vacancy, the whole phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, all finished. Then generally the school will start to have communication with the parents, perhaps sharing book lists, perhaps sharing information on orientation, and generally then the school will also inform the parents about like, okay, if you are interested in student care, perhaps you can go to the website to download the form and to fill it up. So this information will come after the closing of the registration.
Oh, it's definitely before they start the P1.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, yeah, any other questions?
Hi, may I clarify one thing?
Yes, please.
Just now you mentioned that the intake for the student care is like 180. Is it just for primary one student or for
Is the size of the student care can only take in 180 students, and this include P1 to every other levels.
Okay, sure, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we hope we have answered most of the questions. So in the interest of time, because I know that some of you are still at work, so we will close this session. And once again, thank you everyone for your interest in Admiralty Primary School and for logging on and participating in our session this afternoon. Thank you very much, parents, and
Thank you for introduction.
nice
Thank
day.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.